really foggy and rainy that day. It's so crystal clear today. Like, how can you not see that you're flying into the World Trade Center? And just as the words came out of my mouth, the second plane hits.
And this is in the weeks leading up to 9/11.
Yeah, this was like 3 weeks before 9/11.
That's wow.
Yeah.
So
I got a nice award for that operation. That worked out well.
I'll bet. Yeah. Yeah, you were on your game for that one.
I was.
You had said, though, in Greece, you weren't being read in on any Al-Qaeda stuff or whatever.
Not a word.
But when you got back from Greece, when they sent you home from there, you were at Langley, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm like, what is this Al-Qaeda everybody's talking about?
Now they start telling you all about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember there was some terrorist attack. I don't remember which one it was, but I was like,
Kenya?
It may have been. It was in that period between the summer of 2000 and the summer of 2001. And I was like, oh, this is what everybody's been so worried about. Like, yeah, this is bad. Yeah. But then I just continued to do Greek stuff until the shit hit the fan.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
But how'd you end up in the Middle Eastern country?
As a favor to my buddy who was the station chief.
That's it.
That was it.
You weren't actually.
No, he's like, Kiriakou would be good for this. I can trust him to do this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was that whole, good cop thing again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a few weeks before 9/11. Mm-hmm. You come back to the U.S. after that?
Yeah, I came back to the U.S.
And where were you on 9/11?
I was at headquarters. It sounds quaint now, but the government printing office, GPO, they're up on Capitol Hill. The government printing office was publishing a compendium of declassified cables, and it was called Foreign Relations of the United States, Athens, Ankara, Istanbul, Nicosia, 1947 to 1969. I still remember it. Mm-hmm. The problem is there were 3 cables among the thousands of cables in that giant volume that outed 3 agency sources who were still alive. So we asked GPO to stop printing, and they were like, nope, act of Congress, got to print. So I called the White House, and I said, I need an appointment with Condoleezza Rice.
This is on 9/11?
On the morning of 9/11.
Oh, my God.
We got an appointment with Condoleezza Rice at 9 o'clock that day. So I went over to Cofer Black's office. Because
tell people who Cofer Black is.
Cofer Black was the chief of the CIA's Counterterrorism Center. Yeah. Connie Rice didn't know me from anywhere. But she and Cofer were, longtime colleagues.
He had met with her. We'll get into this. He had met with her a bunch before 9/11, telling her it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
So I get a call from the driver saying the car's ready to take us to the White House. And we were just going to ask Condoleezza Rice to just please don't publish these 3 cables, right? Just take the cables out or black out the names or whatever. Just don't publish these, because then we're going to have to offer these guys $1 million each or relocate them to the States. And they're all like 90 years old by now. So we didn't want to do that. So I go over to Cofer's office to tell him that the car's ready. And his secretary has a little TV on her desk. Now, back then, we couldn't watch TV on our computers, right? And one of the World Trade Center towers is on fire. And I go, what happened to the World Trade Center? And she said, a plane flew into it. And me, because I'm an idiot, I said, you know what? That happened once before.
It did. Empire State Building.
In the 30s, the Empire State Building was hit by a plane, but it was really foggy and rainy that day. It's so crystal clear today. Like, how can you not see that you're flying into the World Trade Center? And just as the words came out of my mouth, the second plane hits.
Where's Cofer? In the office?
He's in his office, oblivious to any of this.
He doesn't even know this is happening.
No. So she turns to me and she says, did you see that or did I imagine it? And I said, we're under attack. And I ran back to my office. I said, guys, two planes just hit both towers of the World Trade Center. I think we're under attack. So they ran back up to Cofer's office. Now, you have to imagine this absolutely enormous office that has about 150, cubicles
Yeah.
In what we call the bullpen. And then around the perimeter of the office are all the private offices. So you've got the director of the Counterterrorism Center, the deputy director for operations, the deputy director for intelligence, the deputy director for military, and then the division chiefs.
Eerily similar to how Wall Street's set up.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So everybody's gathered. There were TVs above Kofer's office on a bunch of different networks. BBC, the Russians, the French, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. I think Fox was around back then.
Yeah, Fox and CNN were around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just silence. So imagine there are 200 people standing there. And then somebody shouts, "Will somebody please lead?" And it was like someone had slapped Kofer in the face. And he's like, you go to the director's office and tell him this. You go to security. You go to operations. And starts barking out orders. So the rest of us are standing there like, what do we do? And then someone said, "Everybody, I think we should assume that we're probably a target." And it hadn't occurred to anybody. There are still 2 planes in the air.
Yeah.
Right? Then the Pentagon gets hit. Well, we all had friends at the Pentagon, close friends, colleagues. It's like, well, now what? The next one's either for us or it's for the White House. Abu Zubaydah later said, he kept saying the White House, but pointing to a picture of the Capitol building. Mm. And he kept saying that the White House we were going to hit the White House because it was the bastion of the Jews. And he kept pointing to the Capitol dome. So, I know. It's like, so a security guy came in and he shouted, "Everybody evacuate." And nobody budged.
And Kofer said, "I guess we'll just have to die."
Yeah. So he came back in an hour or two later and he says, "If you don't evacuate, you'll be arrested." And Kofer said, "Everybody just go, get out." Well, I mean, I can't say the number of people, but there were more than 10,000 people in headquarters, right, that day at any given time. Yeah. 10,000 people all leaving the parking lot at the same time. Yeah, it took me 3 hours to get out. It was so bad, I had to abandon my car on the George Washington Parkway and walk the rest of the way to my house, my apartment. My then girlfriend, who became my wife, met me at my place. My place was closer than hers.
Had she been at headquarters too?
She was at headquarters too. And she's like, "What are you going to do?" They're telling us to evacuate. And I said, "Nobody's moving. And if I'm not going to evacuate, we have work to do now." And she's like, "They're telling us we have to go. I'll meet you at your place." And I said, "Okay." So we met at my place. We went to the roof. We watched the Pentagon burn for a while. And then I said, "This is ridiculous. We should give blood. We should try to give blood somewhere." So we went to a couple of there were blood mobiles set up. But the lines were so long, they said, "It's going to take us 24 hours to get through these people." And I told her, "Listen, take my keys. I'm going to walk back to headquarters." And so...
How far is that?
It's about 7 miles. So my car was like 4 miles away. I walked back to my car. I drove across the median.
It was still there?
Oh, yeah, it was still there. It was chaos. Yeah. And I'll tell you, after I abandoned my car...
Surprised it wasn't looted.
Oh, no. Everybody was nuts. They were just trying to get out. Mm. There were a lot of cars that were abandoned. A lot. And so I knew it was bad when, after I abandoned my car, I got to the Teddy Roosevelt Bridge, and I saw the White House's director for Middle Eastern Affairs walking with no shoes, like to evacuate. I was like, "Are you kidding me? It's that bad." The White House evacuated. Like, how can that be?
Yeah,
they've got underground bunkers.
Shouldn't evacuate.
Yeah, they have underground bunkers. So I walked back to my car. I went back to headquarters, and I didn't leave for 4 days. I just slept underneath the desk, balled up my jacket and used that as a pillow. And I say in my first book too, it got so bad where, after lunch, it's like whatever it is, 4:00. They lock up the cafeterias. The cafeterias at the time were contracted out to Marriott. I forget the name of the Marriott catering sub. Saga was the name of it back then. Saga. Disgusting food. And they would put a chain and a lock on the cafeteria doors. So we got bolt cutters and we cut it open. We looted all the food. We turned everything on and we cooked all the food and we just laid it out on these folding tables in the hallway. And people just grazed for the next 4 days. We ended up cutting a check to the Marriott to pay for all the food we took.
How many people like you came back?
Hundreds.
But like not 50% of the agency.
Oh, no.
Not even close.
Only counterterrorism and Middle East ops. Okay. Everybody else bugged out.
So those 4 days, take me inside of those. What were you guys doing?
Name traces. Every station on the planet was sending requests for name traces. Hey, I just heard a rumor, some guy named Mohammed Abdullah, he might be a terrorist. What can you tell me about him? You know, I'm being general here, but thousands upon thousands of name trace requests.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.